Welcome. In front of me I have the Nubia Red Magic 6R, or 6 Racing as it's called on the box right here. And today I'll go over unboxing along with a quick overview of this phone. So let's just quickly pop it open. There we go. Okay, so that's almost everything we get. We also get a little headphone jack to Type-C. So there we go. That's all we get. So with the phone, we do get a 30-watt charger, which necessarily isn't the fastest one nowadays, but still pretty nice that we actually get one with the device. We get a Type-C charging cable to Type-A and the conversion from Type-C to headphone jack, so you can use your wired headphones. Now when it comes into the phone, it's still booting up for some reason, but I'm gonna go over right now just the design right here. So we do have a pretty nice clean non-gamery looking back, which is pretty nice. Red Magic usually does kind of have a gamery aesthetic. It does have some like accents, if you can see it, like weirdness added to it, but in general I would say it looks pretty clean. Now the back seems to be, I think, plastic, at least it looks like it. But back is apparently glass. So there we go. So I'm gonna go through a quick little setup, and that is actually a pretty nice screen to body ratio just by looking at it. So it feels really nice. So anyway, let's just quickly go through the actual specs of it. So we're looking at a 6.67 inch display. It's a 1080p by 2400 display. It's an AMOLED display with 1 billion colors, 144 hertz refresh rate, and basically a peak brightness of 770 nits. At least that's, I think, how they advertise it. Now, the display right here in this case is pretty bright. It's also really nice that it's running at a higher refresh rate, though throughout the setup you can see that it is running only at 90 hertz right now, which still for the setup it's really nice anyway. But if you want, you can obviously navigate into the settings and display and turn that bad boy to be 144. There we go. And now it's basically as smooth as it can get on almost any phone. So there we go, that's the display, which is pretty decent. Now moving on to the back, we have a quad camera setup. Now before you get all a little fuzzy inside and think that, oh, that actually might be a good gaming phone for photos, we have a 64 megapixel main sensor, and honestly, for this kind of caliber of phones, I probably would only count main sensor as a sensor. Then we got an 8 megapixel ultra wide, which I guess that can take photos. In terms of detail, you will probably start to see some pixelations and just fuzziness to the photo when you just try to zoom in, just to kind of maybe showcase this. Let's unlock it, launch the camera. Yep, agree. Let's see, where is it? Actually, I think it's gonna be in photo and 3, 5, 10. Nope. Where is it? Portrait? No. Little bit confused. How do I access the ultra wide here? No. Are you kidding me? We do have a macro, but I honestly wouldn't recommend using that whatsoever. Yeah, I have honestly, judging by the fact that it's hidden somewhere, I can gather that it's probably not good. Considering usually ultra wide is literally somewhere in the just the little line at the bottom, so you can just pick it from there. But here, as you see, all we have is or maybe you can find it in here. Let's see. Panorama, macro, no. What are these? Just come on. So we have everything but the ultra wide that I'm looking for, unless it's named differently, or I am just stupid and blind. Yeah, I honestly, I don't think I'm stupid or blind, and it's not in here. Now we do have a macro, which is even worse. Yeah. Now macro here is apparently at 5 megapixels, so it actually might not be that bad. But I guess we'll find out just right now. Now this is kind of weird. Never seen this before. Let's actually bring this and make it a little bit at an angle so I can get more light. Move this out of the way. Okay, so there we go. That's our macro shot. And at 5 megapixels, I think it does pretty okay job. It's actually surprisingly good. Usually, you get a sticker camera that is just a 2 megapixel macro, but here at 5, it does a adequate job to get you up close to your subject and get this really like decent detail. So that actually is not bad, but 2 megapixel depth sensor is trash. So there we go. And 8 megapixel ultra wide, I can't even find it. So there we go. Now those were the back camera. Now at the front we have just a single 16 megapixel wide sensor, so that's about it. Now one more thing that I'll mention about the back, which I didn't, is in terms of video recording. You can record at 8K, which is a little bit stupid, at 30 frames. Now if you're planning to drop it a little bit lower, which I would recommend, this will give you obviously a smaller file size for starters, but it will also allow you to record at 60 frames max. So that's already a pretty nice thing. Now if you lower it even further, you do get 120 and 240, but those I believe are just slow motions. So these 240 most certainly is. So there we go. Now front one just 1080p 30 frames, so nothing really special right here. Now continuing on with the internals right here, we do have several different versions of this phone. So starting off at the very base model, we have 128 gigs of storage with 6 gigs of RAM, and we can crank it up to 256 gigs storage with 12 gigs of RAM. For the most part, the last one, which I just said, the 256 with 12 gigs, is the only one that has increased storage. Rest of them are just running at 128 gig storage with 6, 8, 12 gigs of RAM variants. So there we go. And also let's see if we have any kind of expandable storage in here. And we don't. So it looks like you're kind of locked into either the 128 gigs or 256 if you need more than 128, because you don't have expandable storage, which is actually a little bit of an oversight, considering to get a little bit more storage or double the storage, you will need to buy the very like top version of this phone, which is just stupid. So yeah, now there is no like nice way to say it. It's a massive oversight here. Considering 128 gigs right now, it's not that much. You most likely, especially if you play games, you will run out of the storage pretty freaking quick. For average user that just takes photos, maybe records videos from time to time and has like just a couple apps, you should be fine. But like I said, gaming, no bueno. So it seems like a little bit of a like you're being forced into buying the top end model of this just so you can actually utilize adequate amount of storage. So I don't really like that. Now anyway, let's move over. Battery size here is 4200 milliamp hours, so not the biggest battery, but the phone is pretty slim and it is pretty light too, so I guess that kind of adds to it. Now we do have the 30-watt charger, so that's global, though China apparently gets a 55-watt charger. So if you're in China, you actually get a better charging than I did. Good luck for you. Oh, good for you. Now it supports quick charging 4, and that's about it. I don't see any kind of advertised charging speeds, so I can't really tell you for certain how quick this will charge at 30 watts. But I would assume something like hour and a half to 2 hours to charge it fully. It's only a 4200 mAh battery, so it should be charging relatively quick, though yeah, it might actually be even quicker considering this garbage charges at like almost 2 hours to full, and this is charging at like what, 15 watts, so I believe this might actually be like an hour to full charge. Though like I said, I'm just guessing right here, so don't take my word right here. It could be completely inaccurate. Anyway, moving on to the last part, it's the processor in here. So this entire phone is being powered by a Snapdragon 888. So this is the older, obviously, Snapdragon, but I am a little bit late to this phone. I'm recording it basically at the end of 2022. Well, this phone came out at like what, beginning of 2021. So yeah, I'm really late to this one. So at that time when this phone was released, it was pretty decent, and it was retailing for about 500 euros. Now, if you're planning to pick this up phone right now, meaning like end of 2022, 500 euros for this phone might be still stretching it. So I would probably look for this phone at like 400 to maybe 350. Would seem like a really good deal for this phone, because like I said, it is right now running a little bit of an older hardware with the Snapdragon 888. Right now, or past the 888, we had 2 additional processors, actually technically 3 now, the Snapdragon 8 Gen 1, 8 Plus Gen 1, and now it's gonna, now I believe Samsung will be releasing 8 Gen 2. So it is quite behind in terms of the flagship processor right here. So obviously, when it comes down to gaming, this phone might not perform as well as phones that were released this year. So that is something to keep in mind if you're planning to have a powerhouse just for gaming. But other than that, you do have everything else, like the little touch sensitive triggers right here for, well, obviously gaming right here. They are not physical in any kind of sort, they're just like a touch surface, as most of the Red Magic I think have, and all the other almost gaming phones. There's I think Red Magic has some of their like better phones which do have pop-out triggers where you have like a slider and just pops out. Those are freaking amazing, I'm not gonna lie. So I would in general probably recommend something like that if you're planning to just strictly game. Physical buttons just always slap way harder than the actual like touch ones. These just like, you feel like you're just touching the bezel of the phone. There's literally nothing to make you feel the actual button right here. There is no distinction right here. So I do myself prefer just a physical button. But anyway, finishing this off, because there is nothing else to say, this phone, like I said, it's a little bit outdated nowadays, but if you can get it for cheaper than 500 euros, for instance like 400, this would be already a pretty nice price, especially if you're looking for a powerful phone at a relatively lower price. As you probably are aware, right now phones are retailing usually for about 1,000 euros. Or dollars, it doesn't really matter. Market right now is completely screwed, and euro and dollar are basically at the same value right now. And at $1,000 obviously you will get flagship phone with current gen specs. But if you want to just save up like half of the price or more, then this seems to be a really decent device to pick up. And obviously, if I'll mention this, if you're not looking for a phone that is like top of the line super powerhouse, if you're looking for such a thing, then obviously this is already outdated and might struggle to run certain things like maxed out. So probably Tower of Fantasy, I don't know how well this would be running on this phone. Even though it's running a Snapdragon 888, it might have some like moments where it probably will just drop frames. So just something to keep in mind. But anyway, with that being said, if you found this very helpful, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and thanks for watching.